Hello sports enthusiasts, welcome to a new series of UFC Content Insights, where every week I'll be reviewing key bits of content throughout the build-up of the weekend's big event. And this week it is none other than Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw. The first bit of content I want to discuss is on UFC Fight Pass. So, the UFC have released a little sub-series called UFC Chronicles Coming Clean, which is focusing on none other than TJ Dillashaw himself. Now, this series focuses on TJ's comeback following a 2-year suspension from the UFC, following himself testing positive for banned drug substances, and following on his defeat by Henry Cejudo back in January 2019. And the reason this content really stands out for me is because the piece of content focuses on TJ's mindset and his mentality returning back into the octagon after such a long time, and what I can imagine is a very traumatic experience for him too. It gets the hardcore TJ fans very enticed for the event to come back, and also it gives new and casual audiences the opportunity to get to know TJ a bit better in terms of his legacy left in the octagon and what he can bring back to the table as well. So ultimately, the UFC are tapping into two different audiences with casuals and hardcore fans through athlete-driven marketing. Another key piece of content that I loved was coming from ESPN this week. They've also released a little sub-series on their channel called UFC Destined, and this focuses on both fighters and relating to TJ Dillashaw. The element is around how fatherhood has changed the fighter coming into fight night this weekend, alongside Corey Sandhagen, who has taken up meditation practices a lot more seriously ever since following a loss early on in his career. What ESPN have done very well here is they've recognised the interest around combat sport for new audiences and younger fans. Their interest lies beyond what goes on within the octagon, and instead their interest is a lot more personable to the athletes themselves and their livelihoods and how that can impact them as fighters. So in that regard, with content creation within this era, your interest has got to lie within other areas outside of combat sport, which ESPN have executed very well here. As a new fan of the UFC and a growing supporter of the sport, I personally would have liked to have seen more of a few things, and particularly one of them was around Corey Sandhagen. I think I would have definitely loved to have seen more promotion around him. I feel like the UFC typically have a model where for each fight they have a build-up of the key A-side fighter, and really base a lot of the promotion around them to drive in the leverage, and then that typically deprives the star power opportunity from the other fighter itself. And I think in this instance it would have been nice to see a bit more insight into Corey Sandhagen to help those casual and new audiences of MMA understand more about those personalities. And I think having a bit more athlete-focused content available on channels, particularly on YouTube, would have been really enticing here. I noticed there wasn't an embedded series, which is usually a key piece of content throughout the UFC, building up to fight week. Potentially it could be to do with it being a fight night promotion rather than a main event that the UFC hold. But ultimately, I think to get those casual audiences really enticed, you've got to almost treat it like it is a big event in any capacity possible. So essentially, very impressive promotions by the UFC for this event itself. I'm certainly very intrigued to see how it goes, and more importantly, let me know what key bits of content you found the most enticing throughout this fight night build-up, and also let me know your predictions as well. Who have you got, Corey Sandhagen or TJ Dillashaw? Let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you soon.